Clips, clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe and hit the bell. Everything will be well in 1995. Plus, shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Why does a dog wag its tail? Because a dog is smarter than its tail. If the tail were smarter, the tail would wag the dog. Wag the dog in politics is the act of creating diversion from a damaging issue. Here at Wag the Dog News, the tail doesn't wag the dog. Enjoy. Clips, clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the bell, everything will be well. 1995. Plus, shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Alrighty, chibs. Another one of Kip's clips. Alright, Martin, how you doing, buddy? This won't be a long one. Last night I didn't feel well. Having shivers and stuff just before going to my bed. Woke up this morning, felt a wee bit more shivery and stuff. And I've got COVID. So there goes my idea that I'd had it without knowing about it earlier on. Well, at least it'll be the Megatron version. I don't feel like I need to go to hospital, but sore head and stuff like that jazz. So what I was going to do was just have a wee look at the headlines and then do the off, because looking at stuff hurts my brain. So beautiful. COVID disappears. Just like 5G being a deep state Illuminati military industrial complex weapon. But don't talk about that. The Nibiru's coming. You know, there's something weird going on with my camera. It's dead. Glitchy. What the fuck's going on? Anywho, so 2 lines, man. You know, I honestly didn't expect. I must have caught it yesterday at some point, somewhere. I know I don't need it. In fact, do you need to isolate and shit up here in Scotland? Anyway, I'll worry about that later. It's been a... know what's going on, John. And as always, I'm getting the stream, which seems to be working, of RT directly from their website. The only pain in the arse is they're using their own player, which doesn't give you the DVR ability. You had it at Xmas. Oh, well, you know what? I did. Well, I've got a bit of a temperature, and I had to chills last night, and right now I'm going hot and cold, but it's no that bad so far. But I'm doped up to the 9 in every fucking vitamin known to man. Whether that's helping or not, I don't know. Smoking weed seems to help. Smoking weed and sticking shite on Netflix and lying back. And that's what I'm going to be doing. But I will. Alright, Blazing. I've got COVID, mate. Baracus variant. I'm sure it'll be Megatron. You know, I don't... I feel I can breathe alright. My joints are a bit achy. I've definitely got a temperature. I've been sitting with a cold press on my head and all that this morning. 3 to 4 days. Well, I'm going to count yesterday as the first day, Martin, so hopefully I'll be better fucking sooner rather than later. Ah, fuck, it's the fucking Rangers game tomorrow night as well. I'm sitting here with a wee fire directly on me and I should be boiling, but I'm cold in the morning and all that good stuff. I've got all the curtains closed, there's no sunlight getting in here. What a vampire light hurts my fucking eyes, man. Variant from Omicron. Well, I've not got a blocked up nose. I don't seem to be having any problems with mucus. I can breathe okay. It just seems to be a dull headache sort of behind my eyes, you know, that kind of one of those ones. The light, kinda like a vampire, you know, the light. And then my temperature's kinda all over the graph. Pre-operation check on Monday. Warned me not to show on Monday. Let's hope this variant's even less severe than Megatron. I had a couple of aspirin this moment. It doesn't seem to be doing much wrong. But hey ho, man, it's just the way it goes, and once I've got it out the way, it'll be all good. Well, I heard people talking about the infections and all that jazz was going up again and stuff like that. I've no heard anything about a new strain yet. But everything's all about Ukraine right now, I suppose, isn't it? Yours lasted 36 hours. When was it you had it again, mate? Was it the Megatron version? Or was it the OG version? Alright, hold on. Here's the top of the hour headlines.
The start of Russia's special military operation in Ukraine marks the end of the post-Cold War era.
Special military operation. Makes it sound like a handicap kid.
To exclude Russia, but to be against Russia. In short, NATO failed to keep the peace. Now we're left to live with the consequences.
Oh mate, I'd need to go to the shop to get paracetamol, and I don't know if I could... You know what? I used that stock footage at some point, I'm pretty sure. Something very, very close to it. Aye, look at my camera, man. Camera's all blurry and shit
and
for some reason.
destruction in a residential area of the Donetsk Republic following another alleged ballistic missile strike by Ukrainian forces, the second in 48 hours.
Might just go and spend my life in the shower, you know. Fuck global warming for a day, man. Let me
Moscow waits
recuperate.
to see if its latest Eurobond payment, worth over $100 million, has gone through amid sanctions on its finance ministry. Indeed, amid heavy sanctions, Russia's financial operations in dollars remains in limbo.
Xmas.
Moscow to trade
Was that
oil
the
in its
Megatron
national
one then,
currency,
blazing?
something India is also seeking to do.
Well, she said about the new variant yesterday.
And with the UK seeking an alternative energy supply after a total ban on Russian oil and gas imports, Boris Johnson doesn't shy away from turning to Saudi Arabia, accused by the same PM of human rights violations.
I don't think I'd like to walk to the shop, you know. I just want to curl up in a ball under some covers.
9 a.m. in Montreal,
Close
9
my
p.m.
eyes.
in Singapore, and 4 in the afternoon here in Moscow this Wednesday, the 16th of March. Let's get into the midweek news roundup on RT. A third week of the conflict in Ukraine is raging as battles between Russian-led forces and Ukrainian troops continue. Diplomats from both countries, though, are working to find a compromise on the demilitarization of Ukraine. Another development, Moscow is awaiting confirmation that its payment transaction on its sovereign euro bonds worth over $100 million
Hopefully go back to sleep again.
despite sanctions placed on the Russian Ministry of Finance. Now, that is significant because it would be the first payment since the country's gold and foreign exchange reserves were frozen as part of widespread sanctions. While in the US, President Biden has signed a government funding bill that includes over $13 billion in aid for Ukraine. And another package of sanctions on Russia has been introduced by the EU. That's as the International Monetary Fund warns that such sanctions will lead to an economic recession in the bloc itself. All right, moving on now. These are pictures
I'm so
from the
happy I'm
reclaimed
beginning to feel
Donbass
tired,
of
man. You know, I
Volnovakha,
just want to go and
where
fucking
locals
sleep
are now
this shit off.
receiving humanitarian aid and food packages from Donetsk authorities. Local authorities say around 85% of the city's housing has been damaged. Officials also claim another city in Donetsk Republic was struck by a Ukrainian ballistic missile. No deaths were reported in Makiivka, but at least 6 people were reportedly injured, including 3 children. A number of residential buildings were damaged too, with fires seen burning on some floors.
Same, different day, same shit, innit?
Сидели дома и все. И вылетело все, и полетело на нас.
Вы не пострадали? У вас
Мы в
как?
шоке сидим.
Квартира как? Окна? Все
Да,
целое?
все вылетело.
Все вылетело?
Да.
Вот. Вот. Только поставили окно, копила, копеечки собирал. Бабушка лежала, просто вот стекла до сюда долетели, но слава богу, бабушки ангел-хранитель есть, вот она вот как тут лежала, слава богу, жива осталась. Это вот,
It gets really
нам,
tiresome
людям, которые ни в чем не виноваты,
watching the
которые
same
просто
shit,
хотят жить
just
и
different people, you know. Find somebody that the Ukrainians have bombed and stuff,
боимся ходить. И
and
жить
show it
красиво.
online.
Здесь нет никакого военного объекта, ничего, правильно? Стреляют прям по
Ничего здесь
мирным
просто нет,
жителям.
да, просто по мирным жителям.
And while Donetsk and Lugansk Republic
Need to check
forces
that out, please, and
continue
see
to
if I've got the
advance,
new
claiming
COVID.
more cities in the Donbass region, the Russian Defense Ministry says another 128 items of Kiev's military hardware have been struck on Ukrainian territory. Now, these unverified pictures show a 12-story residential building in Kiev that was reportedly hit by debris from the cruise missile there, which local authorities claim air defense systems shot down. A nearby 9-story building was also reportedly damaged. Moscow is awaiting confirmation of a transaction of bond payments worth $117 million, as sanctions on Russia's finances have complicated the process. Russia's finance minister spoke to RT and explained the situation.
There is a risk that this payment will not reach the final recipients. Why? Because our dollar account is blocked. The account of the Ministry of Finance as well as the central bank came under restrictions, under sanctions, so no transactions can be made with these accounts. However, debt transactions will result in holders of our bonds, including both U.S. investors and European investors from those countries that have imposed sanctions on our assets, being unable, as a result of these restrictions, to collect their bonds. Therefore, if these restrictions remain in place in relation to American and European investors, we have prepared a fallback option, which provides for the possibility of paying our obligations in rubles. This possibility also exists for Eurobonds issued after 2018. Such a possibility also exists within the framework of the procedure defined in the Russian Federation in connection with unfriendly actions. Namely, we will credit in this case rubles to our depository, the National Settlement Depository, and offer to settle our debts in rubles. Russian investors will do it, and foreign investors can do it as well if they accept to receive the corresponding amount in rubles.
Yeah, the bonds that Russia is making a payment on, they're Eurobonds, meaning that it's denominated, in a currency other than the home currency of where the bond is issued. Now, in this case, the payment must be made in dollars, hence the complicated situation. Let's try and make it a little bit more simple. Here's a rundown of what's happening.
Right. That dramatic fucking music is going right through my head right now. So there's the top of the hour headlines and stuff. Sorry, but I'm dying of fucking COVID. I'm going to be dead soon. Top of the morning, top of the hour news.
In that context, that this sort of side deal appears to have been made.
The families of both of them are on edge. I mean, they're content to leave Tehran, ready to leave.
Oh, we countdown and all that. Oh, now it's hard to find because we stay in a day where governments dictate to Google what they can and cannot show on search results. But if you look for it hard enough, you'll see references to it when Boris Johnson came out and admitted this woman wasn't there on holiday or whatever, she was there as a spy, which is blatantly obvious to everybody, but they still maintain the lie.
Today at 1, Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe, the British-Iranian
mom
detained in Iran since 2016, is freed and at the airport ready to leave Tehran. The 43-year-old was originally arrested on spying charges, which she's always denied. The family say they won't believe
Which Boris Johnson admitted to, and had to come out in Parliament and apologise and all.
Until she touches down London, we just can't quite believe it. But I think we're all a little bit on edge today. Really,
she's a spook.
One other dual national, father Anusha
Just not get the energy,
also
man.
been released from prison in Iran. We'll try and explain what the breakthrough was and when both of them might be back in the UK.
The breakthrough was that Britain paid a bill that went all the way back to the revolution. When before the revolution, Iran made a deal with Britain and paid them billions of dollars or whatever for tanks, and either the delivery didn't get met in full or it didn't get met at all. And when after the revolution, Britain just turned around and went, whistle for your money. So Britain's now gave them the money.
I wouldn't even point a gun at an animal, but this is now time to learn how to hold weapons and shoot them.
So he's implying that the Russians are animals. This is World War II fucking guerrilla barbarian shit.
UAE to discuss energy and security amid criticism of the human rights records of both countries. And NHS staff travel 1,000 miles across 5 countries to bring medical supplies here to Ukraine.
And stay with us on BBC News for continuing coverage and analysis from our team of correspondents in the UK and around the world.
Spooks, the lotties!
Hello, good afternoon. Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe, the British-Iranian mum detained in Iran nearly 6 years ago, has been freed and is at the airport in Tehran waiting to return to the UK. Her family say they won't relax until Nazanin is here. The 43-year-old was arrested in 2016 and convicted of plotting to overthrow the Iranian government, a charge she's always denied. Another detained British-Iranian, Anusha, has also been released and is travelling with her. Mrs. Zaghari-Ratcliffe had recently been under house arrest in Iran, but was given back her UK passport this week. It's been reported that Iranian state media said the UK government paid an outstanding debt to Tehran ahead of the release. Our diplomatic correspondent Caroline Hawley has more.
It's almost 6 years since they were last together as a family. Now, barring any last-minute hitches, a reunion is at last imminent.
Perfect kind of spook to send into Iran. Olive skin.
Nazanin was arrested
Fits
at Tehran
right
airport
in.
as she was trying to leave the country to get back home after visiting her parents. Now she's back at the airport with fellow British national Anousheh Ashuri, who's also spent years in jail.
It's quite an emotional day today. Definitely, it feels like we're on the home run now, but until she leaves that airport, we can't quite believe it. But really positive developments. We found out about an hour ago.
Now, what the BBC and the fellow
to the airport with her family,
people
her parents,
propagating this
her parents
story
weren't allowed to come in the room with her, so she's still actually under Iranian control.
don't
at the
understand
airport.
is
So she's still not free.
it's all bullcrap, man.
But it definitely feels like she's about to be.
Since her arrest, Nazanin has endured solitary confinement, psychological torture, and the agony of separation from her daughter. She served a 5-year sentence and then was immediately given another. Her husband Richard has campaigned around the clock for her release, last October going on hunger strike in an act of desperation to pressure the UK government to do more to get her home. He's always said she's been held as a hostage for a debt that Britain owes Iran. In the 1970s, Iran bought more than 1,500 Chieftain tanks from the UK. But after the Islamic Revolution, the deal wasn't completed, and Iran has been demanding its money back for decades. This is the moment state-run television announced the release of Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe. Iranian media say the money that Britain owes Tehran has now been paid.
I love the way that on the BBC they don't have the self-awareness to know that they're state-run media as well. They're nothing more than a mouthpiece for MI5 and 6,
But this weekend will be one hell of a
depending on what channel.
This was Nazanin's favourite spot to come with their daughter Gabriella when she was a baby. So many years to catch up on now. So much time they'll never get back. Since her release from jail into house arrest, she's been able to see Gabriella and Richard only over the phone. Precious moments of parenting from a distance of thousands of miles. But they are now within
Roberto.
distance of finally being able to hold each other again. Caroline Hawley, BBC News.
So, Caroline, what's happened? What's changed?
Mr. Tumble for pregnant.
Well, I think brutally, for Iran, this was always a transaction. Anousheh Ashuri, 68-year-old retired engineer, and Nazanin Zaghari.
Oh, Method Man, don't stress yourself out about the
hostage, were being held
the hypocrisies, double speaking,
largely over this debt,
the contradictions
£400 million or thereabouts.
that's getting flung out left, right, and centre from the
way
independent
to
BBC.
State media is saying that $530 million have been paid to Iran. So I think this is what.
Oh well, mate, I've got COVID. I need to sort something out for fucking getting food and all that, you know. I don't want to go and fucking give it to other people.
And the other thing to say is that there's a sort of wider context, which is that there are frantic efforts to revive the Iran nuclear deal, progress being made there. So it's in that context that this sort of side deal appears to have been made.
The families of both of them are on edge. I mean, they're containing their sheer joy because they won't believe it till they're actually here.
That's
always
right.
with the 33.
Richard Ratcliffe has been uncharacteristically quiet the last 24 hours. So has Sherry.
33. It's a magic number.
They don't want to do anything that would jinx or scupper anything. They may also
in the afternoon, Gary
quiet.
Roberto plays in Method Man.
It's been such a roller coaster for them. So many ups and downs.
She's just in.
Before, but never have we got this close. They are as far
I've got
as we know,
COVID.
at the airport.
Found out.
We think
Actually,
that,
10 minutes before going live.
Rebecca Ratcliffe, Richard's sister, that she's
So I've got no energy. I can't even really watch this.
For state-run
Something like
television, we know she's been also called into the authorities. So they've kind of continued the stress and the psychological pressure for her right up to the end. But don't forget that she's served 6 years now, her 5-year sentence, and then she's also served the 1-year sentence that she was given immediately, that 5-year sentence.
Aye, mate, it's not too bad, mate. It's nothing more than
fingers and toes
a chill and a sore head at the moment.
The ordeal is over, and
But it happened last night.
Shortly.
Let's hope so. Thank you.
I could feel it this morning when I
Let's
was
talk to Nick Eardley, who is our political
getting
correspondent.
when I was getting aroused.
We don't yet know the
When it was
politics behind
arousing.
this, Nick, but what was said at Prime Minister's questions today?
Not a great deal about the specifics of this, Victoria. The government is very reluctant to talk about this until Nazanin is in the air. I don't think it's going to change.
Told you, the Scots or the Jews of the UK were a small portion of the population, and we've got politicians up here in Scotland, and we've got tons of them down in Westminster. And we've got hundreds of talking heads up here in Scotland with the Scottish news, and lots of the talking heads down south taking over the media.
Settled.
Tell you, Scotland runs the world.
Foreign Secretary was asked about that debt this morning and said that the government was looking at ways
Get a bell for round your neck.
So it seems like that is something that has been discussed over the last few weeks. It's also worth pointing out that there has been a closer relationship between Ms. Truss and her Iranian counterpart.
High doses of vitamin D, vitamin K2, and a multivitamin Barocca thing every morning.
Be seeing today, but this is an issue
and that maca root or whatever it's called as well.
Years in the UK, it's
fucking sounds like a pill bottle in the morning.
Solve the issue, and until it's completely certain that it has been resolved, the government isn't.
Method Man, the multivitamin thing has got tons of that shit in it. Man. It's kind of like Amazon's own brand Barocca pills. See you later, Romulan. Shit, I forgot.
Well, here in Ukraine, the country has now endured 3 weeks of war. Blasts have been heard in the capital, Kiev, with
Kiev. That's like, is that the Romulan meeting in the middle?
In the city has been hit by Russian shelling. People have been sheltering in their homes underground.
I hope so, mate. The only thing that's going to hurt my head.
Well, today the UK's Ministry of Defence
should be all right for today, to be honest.
To succeed in stalling Russian forces struggling to overcome.
As if I'm still positive in a few days' time getting food, man.
Well, this morning, NATO defence ministers have met in Brussels to discuss their response to the conflict.
I don't really feel that hungry.
While Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that peace talks are beginning to sound more realistic. Russia's foreign minister has said there is hope for compromise. Our first report today on the continuing Russian assault is from our Kyiv correspondent, James Waterhouse.
I keep hoping it will disappear, but I don't think it works that way.
3 weeks into this war, and Russia keeps attacking.
Oh, it's Hypno Man!
And for the capital, the battle is getting closer, and the defenders keep defending.
They sometimes fire artillery.
Thank you, Roberto. I'll go with my eyebrows myself.
Everything will be alright. Everything will be Ukraine.
Oh man, I've not even got the energy to do that.
A lull in fighting allows for a quick rest.
And this is what we can see now. Plumes of dark smoke on the outskirts of the city as Ukrainian forces try to keep out this Russian advance. Some further insight.
I tend to drink lots of water
residential
all the time, to be honest.
Hit.
For the third consecutive morning, residential blocks bear the brunt of continued
drinking lots of tea,
west, along with the people who live in them.
Caffeine,
here,
Russia,
were injured,
energy.
35 had to be evacuated. Most of the city is underground.
Collapse in the couch and put a
curfew to finally end
cover half round me, you know.
In the southeast, Ukrainians who've been forced from their homes arrive in Zaporizhia. But is it safer? Authorities here claim Russian missiles have recently hit a train station and public park. This is what they've finally been able to escape. More than 20,000 have made it out, say officials from Mariupol. The southeastern city has been surrounded for 2 weeks.
That's the same footage that they were showing yesterday, man.
With barely any food or water.
We need new stuff.
400 people are still reportedly being held hostage at the biggest hospital. It's the only Russian advance which hasn't stalled, according to British defence officials. It's thought invading troops almost everywhere else are continuing to be held up by stiff resistance.
Who are the people that are getting held hostage? The patients?
Partly why there's optimism
hooked up to dialysis machines and all that? By any chance?
Carries on today.
Це важливо. It is important. It is difficult.
Talk about maternity wards and bombing pregnant women again.
In an agreement. Meetings continue. As I'm told, the positions in the negotiations sound more realistic. However, time is still needed for the decisions to be in Ukraine's interest.
Oh wow, I've not noticed if I've lost taste or anything yet.
Continuing to distance
Oh, I think so, I've not noticed it.
joining NATO.
Been having tea this morning and it's went down normally.
Invaded. The question for many Ukrainians will be, what will they get in return? James Waterhouse, BBC News in Kiev.
My throat, I don't seem to have
now our chief international correspondent Lise
a cough.
in Kiev for us. And Lise, the Russian bombardment continues.
I'll cough when I'm vaping, but that's it.
A note of optimism over the diplomacy.
Oh, there's bag face.
The language is certainly shifting in the past 24 hours. It's difficult to get a real sense of it, but when you have Sergei Lavrov, the usual tough-talking veteran top diplomat of Russia, talking about hope for some kind of a compromise, talk about concrete solutions that could be agreed within days, and when that is matched by President Zelensky also speaking of how the Russians are becoming more realistic, you do feel that they are hammering out the shape of a possible way forward. But Russia has so
I said the other day, and I stick to my guns, they need to negotiate a deal that both sides can walk away and say they won.
And President Putin earlier this week, in fact just yesterday, was still saying, oh, the Ukrainians aren't being serious enough. But I think in a war like this, now...
Oh man, I need to put my sunglasses back on.
To grasp at whatever sign that it could be coming to an end. But I have to say, the sounds of war here...
I had to turn the exposure up, or whatever it's called, on my camera so you could see me, because I'm sitting here
artillery fire almost
with the
since
curtains closed and all that.
Curfew kicked in last night at 8 o'clock. And as you heard in James's piece, the plumes of dark smoke rising, suggesting that the Ukrainians are fighting back. So the war goes on, but a tiny bit of hope it could end.
Woo! Yeah, baby.
Lise, many thanks. Lise Doucette reporting there from Kyiv. Well, while we're on the air, President Zelensky is addressing the US Congress via video link, and President Biden is expected to announce details of...
This guy's turned into a right little celebrity, isn't he?
His speech.
Well, hold on, he was a celebrity first. Sorry, my mistake.
Flavour of what he's saying?
Flavour, that's what I need to do. I need to test for flavour.
Addressing a joint session of Congress is generally seen as a rare thing. Presidents do, of course.
Did you lose all taste and smell, buddy? Or was it certain things?
Congress as a foreign leader, a US ally, from inside a country.
2 days.
War rages around
Hopefully I'll be okay for the weekend.
Mr. Zelensky is hoping to use that extraordinary moment to change US foreign policy. Now, we got a huge standing ovation, as you can imagine, which lasted for some while. And then he started talking about the importance of...
Definitely going to have another hot shower at some point.
And he said, my country has a dream like your country does, and talked about that I have a dream, really invoking history in the same way he did when he addressed...
Oh my god, this guy is scandalous, man. He's doing Churchill to Brits, and he's doing I Have a Dream guy, Martin Luther King, I do believe his name is. Shit! Excuse my ignorance, I know it's in there somewhere, I'm sure it's Martin Luther King. I have a dream!
Fighter jets. These are
one day,
two things that the US is not willing to concede on.
Most of MTV will be black rappers. I have a dream.
President Biden to give a response to Mr. Zelensky in a couple of hours' time.
Nomia, many thanks. Nomia Iqbal reporting. NATO's defence ministers have met in Brussels today for the first time since Russia's invasion began to discuss what further support they can offer Ukraine. NATO's Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg said that members of the alliance were providing large quantities of critical military equipment to the country, and that support would continue. Well, we can speak now to our correspondent Jonathan Beale, who's in Brussels for us. And Jonathan, what are they hoping to achieve?
Well, I think, as you mentioned, the first goal is to ensure those weapon supplies into Ukraine keep flowing, not just Western weapons such as anti-aircraft, anti-tank missiles, but also old Soviet kit from Eastern Europe, which Ukrainian forces will be familiar with using. There are limits, of course, to what NATO is willing to do, and they are not discussing seriously that no-fly zone that President Zelensky has requested.
This will be the shittest wag dog news ever, but been infected with the New World Order fake virus.
More troops to NATO's eastern flank, more ships on patrol, more aircraft on patrol too.
And
just had a briefing from
my computer's been infected. Look at how blurry and slow that shit is.
President Putin's invasion is not going according to plan. More than that, they predict he will not achieve his military goals in Ukraine, but they add that he still has the capacity.
Right. Here's the funny thing. This is the line that they're going down. Putin won't achieve his military objectives. And what they insinuate and talk about is he wants to roll into Kiev. Whether he does or doesn't, I don't know. But they're making it out as if like they want to occupy Kiev rather than go in and do the operation. Try and take that metal thing out and put, making the nose glow.
To cause enormous damage.
Jonathan, thank you. Jonathan Beale reporting. Well, as we heard,
hello, Romulan, peace.
And Russia are continuing. Our correspondent Jenny Hill is in Moscow for us. And Jenny, we've heard Ukraine's president sounding a little more optimistic about the talks. What's the message from Russia?
We've heard something similar actually from the foreign minister here today, who says that the talks aren't easy, but there is hope of compromise. I think the important question is who is going to be doing the compromising. We know that Vladimir Putin doesn't want Ukraine to join NATO. He wants to secure a promise that it never will.
It's nothing we've not heard before. It's nothing that's not in my head. Thanks everybody for joining. Sorry it was so short and sweet. I've got the vid. No doubt I'll feel a lot better tomorrow, hopefully. I'm going to go and collapse on the couch and chill the fuck out, man. And tune in tomorrow. And as long as I'm no crippled because of this fucking COVID shit, I'll be doing another dog news. All seconds. Alrighty, boob tubes, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully catch you tomorrow. Have a good gin. Clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe and hit the bell. Everything will be well in 1995. Plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Why does a dog wag its tail? Because a dog is smarter than its tail. If the tail were smarter, the tail would wag the dog. Wag the dog in politics is the act of creating diversion from a damaging issue. Here at Wag the Dog News, the tail doesn't wag the dog. Enjoy. Clip. And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the bell. Everything will be well. 1995. Plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell.